Yeah, I was quite interested in the fact that the Home Office yesterday put out the amendments to the illegal migration bill. One of the most contentious issue that seems to be around at the moment, if you put Dominic Raab aside. What the Times is reporting is that this will be they will introduce a way of actually making sure that migrants are of the age they say they are, which means X-raying things like collarbones and wrists and stuff like that. At the moment, they have a right to refuse that. They won't have the right in the future.
That's a good thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that probably is a good thing. Then we can actually establish if you're dealing with an unaccompanied child or not. So, yes, that's a good thing. The bit I found most interesting in the small print of what the Home Office was putting out is talking about these safe and legal routes. So what the bill provides for is within 6 months they will start considering safe and legal routes. They then talk about as I say, in the small print, there would then be a cap on that safe and legal route. It sounds to me we're nudging towards the solution, which would be a bit like we did with the 20,000 Syrians who came over here. There was a cap on the Syrians. They were taken from refugee camps. If you can actually process people outside the country when it comes to asylum, that takes away the draw of going across the channel.
James, do you think that, there's lots of speculation about deals that have been done between Conservative backbenchers and the government over whether you can ignore some of the rulings from the European Court of Human Rights and that kind of thing. Do you think that where the government is arriving at here is actually going to solve the problem, or is it maybe a problem that's too difficult to solve?
I think that, you look at the kind of desperation and the situation of the people who are seeking to come here. I'm not sure necessarily the kind of legal deterrents are going to do much in order to sort of stop the small boats crisis. I also think it'd be interested to see how the legislation can get through Parliament. And of all the amendments, I was really struck by the one which was put down by Theresa May and Duncan Smith about trying to exempt those who'd be potential victims of human trafficking coming here. And I think when the bill goes back to Parliament next week, that could be the one to really watch, because that's something that could have support from opposition parties as well as Tory benches.
And that was sort of a loophole they were trying to close.
Exactly.
Is being reopened again in an amendment, and I think you're right. I think it is that backbench balancing up with the House of Lords, balancing it up with charity groups who will all be lobbying. Will you get it through? But I think at the end of the day, we have to consider what the public wants, and it is a form of controlled immigration, and not all those people coming over by boat.
Does it cause a problem for the Labour Party, this, Nigel, do you think, in terms of what their stance is? Because obviously the public are crying out for sort of some tough action on this.
Yeah.
Is this going to put them in a difficult position?
It is a problem for the Labour Party, largely because they don't have an immigration policy to speak of at the moment. So they're talking about a special unit within the National Crime Agency to try and deal with the trafficking gangs. That's not going to go far enough. They also talk about a deal with...
They're just frightened to talk about immigration. That's the problem, isn't it?
Well, I think they're certainly talking about... And I don't like speeches which start off by apologising for talking about it in the first place, basically saying, hey, guys, we're not racist, that kind of idea. Obviously, we've got to talk about immigration. It is not racist to control our borders. The question really is no one is coming up with a long-term way of dealing with it. So what you've got to do is change the asylum system so people do not have to physically apply for asylum once they're in the UK.